This is the Sunday Morning Message with Pastor Corey Aker from St Paul Lutheran Church in Paducah, Kentucky.
We have another glimpse into the life of the prophet Elijah here. Now we're actually going back in time from the last time we met up with him. This is before he ran and fled for his life out into the wilderness, ready to die. This is quite a ways before that. This time, he's out in the wilderness because he had just proclaimed to all of the nation of Israel that no rain will fall on the land until he commands it to. He's prophesying a drought. And God said, go out into the wilderness, go out to this particular spring, I'm going to take care of you there. That's what God did. The spring of water gave him good drink. Now here's a really cool part. I don't know if this has ever happened to any of you. It's never happened to me. Ravens brought him food. They just fly in, drop off a steak or some bread, and fly back out. So Elijah's eating the food the ravens are bringing, drinking the water from that spring. Everything's going fine. But remember what Elijah prophesied about, a drought. And it wasn't too long before that little spring that he was sitting beside and loving so much dried up. Needed another plan. Because God wanted to take care of Elijah. So he said, okay, Elijah, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go to this town and you're going to find this widow who will take care of you. I've already set it up. So Elijah, he had just been fed by ravens. He trusts in God. So he goes and he finds, actually the first person he meets at town is this widow woman. And she wasn't out waiting for him. She was out picking up sticks, collecting them to bring home. Now, they introduced themselves. They said, are you the widow God told me about? Yeah. What are you doing collecting sticks? Well, I've just got this little tiny bit of flour and this little tiny bit of oil, really an insignificant amount, not even enough to fill my stomach and my son's stomach. I was gathering these sticks up to make my last meal. Okay. So what do you suppose Elijah's thinking now? This is the woman God sent me to take care of me? She's got no food. We're all going to die. God intervenes again. Don't worry, Elijah. Don't worry, widow and son. I'm going to make sure that that flour never runs out. That oil jar will never be empty as long as this drought lasts. Now, this also isn't revealed in the text, but that drought lasted 3.5 years. A handful of flour, little couple of drops of oil in a jar, and 3 people survived off that for 3.5 years. It's a miracle. God provides. It's not the first time that he's done that either. We've talked a lot in here about how God's chosen people, these Israelites, these children of God, wandered around in a wilderness. 2 million people wandering around, lost in this wilderness where there is no food. And yet there was food. In a place that does not spring up wheat, God rains down bread. For 2 million people, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 40 years. God provides. Several hundred years later, there were thousands of people gathered at the foot of a mountain, at the foot of a man, at the foot of none other than Jesus Christ, listening to him from morning to evening, just wanting to be in his presence. And they forgot about breakfast, they forgot about lunch, but their stomachs were starting to grumble for dinner. The disciples heard a couple people say, hey, we're not going to have enough food here. With 7 loaves of bread and a couple small fish, Jesus fed these thousands of people. Insignificant bread and fish out to the masses. Thousands of people fed. God provides. Now, if you're like most people, you're sitting there right now thinking, hey, these are some really cool stories from the Old Testament and the New Testament. God is awesome. God provides for his people of old. Cool. You might also be thinking, though, I'm not going hungry. These stories from the Old Testament and the New Testament aren't addressing my life. They're not addressing my problems. See, my house is about to be foreclosed on. My job's in question. I might be laid off. I might be joining the folks down in the line at the unemployment. Or my salary has been frozen. The gas prices are rising and the bills at home are certainly not getting any less expensive. I'm not struggling with food problems here. As cool as those stories are, that's not what's going on in my life. And so in all of our times, we do look back to those stories because God did provide. And we believe that we can trust him and put our faith in him. So we cry out to him, Lord, provide. Give us what we need. Give us what we want. Give it to us the way we expect.